As one of the holy grails of the crypto world, stablecoins have always been the most imaginative track in the industry. However, since 2022, various stablecoin solutions have suffered setbacks, whether it is USDT's stability algorithm collapse or USDC's reserve controversy. Instead, only USDT, which is constantly criticized, has been expanding while ensuring the stability of its coin value. On April 19, 2023, the new challenger Hope officially launched on the Ethereum mainnet as a distributed stablecoin project launched by Flex Young, the founder of former Babel Finance. Welcome to our 33 DAO channel, where we explore the latest trends and insights in the cryptocurrency market, a place to spread knowledge of the Web3 industry. Today, we will be discussing one of the hot topics recently, Hope, which was born out of the Sapphire crisis. My name is Jocelyn, and I'm your host for today. Joining me is our co-host, Pei. Hi Pei, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Let's chat about Hope today, shall we?
You mean the distributed stablecoin project? Yeah, let's dive in.
So, what's the deal with the new Hope project? Can you give us the lowdown?
Well, it's pretty straightforward actually. Hope is a distributed stablecoin. You see, the original goal of cryptocurrency was to become a new type of currency. BTC and ETH has been successful examples, but compared to traditional fiat currency, their volatility is still too high, with annual fluctuation between 80 to 100%. So we need a more stable cryptocurrency for payment, but it also has to stay true to the decentralized and distributed nature of crypto. Easy peasy, right?
Distributed? What does that even mean? Sound like a brand new term.
It is a pretty new term, especially since distributed stablecoin is a new project. According to Hope official definition of distributed, it can be broken down into three aspects. The first aspect is distributed reserve. The asset backing Hope will be held in custody by trusted institutions, including Coinbase, in different regions around the world. This ensures compliance with local regulation while avoiding centralized risk from having too many assets in one place. The second aspect is distributed insurance system. There are many distributors of Hope, just like how different banks can issue Hong Kong dollars. In the future, any qualified institution can apply to be a whitelist insured in the Hope system. The last aspect is distributed system. Hope will initially be on Ethereum, but plan to expand to other blockchains to prevent single point failure. I remember not long ago, Hope announced that they chose Coinbase Custody as the first custodian for their distributed reserve network, assuring that the custody account is independent and not mixed with others. More custodians may be added in the future to achieve even greater distribution. See, it's like a game of hot potato, but with money.
So, what's the deal with Flex Young and this new distributed stablecoin, Hope?
Well, apparently the stablecoin market has been going through some serious drama since 2022. First, UST came out on nowhere and basically took over the algorithmic stablecoin game. But then Taylor and his UST empire crumbled, leaving algorithmic stablecoin in shambles. And if that were not enough, even the compliant centralized stablecoin USDC got caught out in a bunch of scandals last year, including some major ceasefire institution failure. And this year, the Silicon Valley Bank disbanked further Hydra USDC attack to catch up to USDT. And don't even get me started on DAI and Fresh, who both suffered significant market share drop due to their reliance on USDC as a reserve. Meanwhile, USDT just keep getting stronger, with a market cap of over 81 million and a 61% market share of all stablecoins. So, in this crazy stablecoin landscape, Flash apparently decided to launch Hope as a distributed stablecoin alternative.
Wow, sounds like quite a roller coaster. I guess you could say the stablecoin market is anything but stable, huh?
Good one. It's definitely been a wild ride. But hey, at least we can still hope for some stability in the world of stablecoin, right?
How does Hope ensure its stability given the instability of USDT and USDC as you mentioned before?
Well, Hope has two-stage development plans to ensure stability. In the first step, they want Hope to become the collateral for other finance, like DeFi, CeFi, and TradFi, making it a highly liquid and available guarantee. Initially, Hope will be generated by collateralizing BTC and ETH, and it will fluctuate around a price of 0.5 USD, not necessarily a cost at 1 USD. Its price will follow the up and down of BTC and ETH, but Hope value will never exceed 1 USD, which will eventually create a stable state. Then, the value of the reserve asset will be higher than the market value of Hope, becoming an asset reserve. For example, if Hope initially issue 100 million and reserve 50 million US dollar worth of asset, assuming it is issued as a prime of 0.5, after the bullish market cycle, the reserve asset value of BTC and ETH could reach 500 million USD. Will Hope only issue 100 million? Therefore, it's become an asset reserve. At this point, Hope will gradually be exchanged for some future highly stable so-called distributed assets, such as KERS, USD, FUSD, Hong Kong bonds, US and Singapore bonds, and so on. After exchanging, the asset reserve will be around 400 million, which can support the insurers of Hope. The team expects the final reserve ratio to be between 105% and 110%.
The big question on everyone's mind: how does Hope ensure the safety of users' assets?
Well, Hope is what you call a distributed stablecoin, which means its reserves are spread out. Right now, they are using Coinbase to store BTC and ETH, which is pretty safe. And the team is also working on partnership with banks all over the world, so they can store reserves in multiple locations. This way, if one bank gets mad at them and cancel the partnership, they still have other place to store their stuff. And finally, the Hope protocol is deployed across multiple chains, not just Ethereum, which adds another layer of security. So basically, they are doing everything they can to make sure your money stays safe and sound.
What about Hope's ecosystem and token economics? How does LT's model compare to Curve?
Well, LT is basically like Curve's cousin, since the VAR model is all about competing for liquidity. Curve design works great for its various pools to battle it out for liquidity, but for Hope mechanism, I think there will be a fight for control over the asset reserve. Let's say our precious hypothetical scenario happens and the initial 5 million reserve grows to 500 million. At that point, there will be a game to be played over the 400 million asset reserve, which is a big gain for LT value. As for token economics, 60% is distributed to the community, which is similar to Curve, but with some algorithm tweaks. And just like Curve, it's a 10 years process to distribute more than 90% of LT, so it is sustained mining process.
What about Hope's development expectations, and what happens if the market doesn't develop as expected when it comes time to exchange assets for other stablecoin assets? Also, how do you determine the timing and decision making for assets exchange?
The key to HOPE development is correctly predicting market cycle, which means that the BTC and ETH being pledged need to have sufficient grow and become asset reserve stablecoin. At some point, there will need to be exchange for other stablecoin assets. But what happens if the market doesn't develop as expected? Well, I'm not fortune teller, but I believe that BTC is on a 4-year cycle that strongly correlated with the halving. However, macro factors like the Federal Reserve 4-year cycle and the US government 4-year cycle are also important to consider. The US Federal Reserve monetary policy cycle is 3 loose years followed by 1 tight year. The US government fiscal policy, which has been primarily driven by which party is in power since 2014, is typically looser when the Democrats are in charge. Additionally, industry insider believe that BTC is on a 4-year cycle, but I think that the halving is only a micro factor. The macro factors are the Federal Reserve cycle and the US government cycle, which are 4 years long. So that's my reasoning for why BTC is likely entering a bull market cycle again. But what if BTC price doesn't go up? Well, if the best asset in the industry are not appreciating in value, then there are not much anyone can do. At the end of the day, the market is unpredictable and it's impossible to know for certain what will happen. So let's hope for the best.
The last question for today. What is HOPE's vision and goals?
HOPE ultimate goal is to become an international clearing currency, but in the short term, they aim to create a high-quality collateral that can cross over DeFi, CeFi, and TradFi. To achieve this, HOPE team first focus on building up reserve, recognizing that stablecoin must have credit to expand and succeed in the future. The team also noticed the growing conflict between the East and West, which presents a micro trend that could result in new development. For instance, China needs non-dollar settlement methods, but the internalization for the renminbi is a long and challenging process. As a plan B, using non-dollar international trade currency like the pound, yen, Singapore dollar, or Hong Kong dollar is feasible. But recent events like the Russia-Ukraine conflict has shown the risk associated with the approach. This led to Plan C, the creation of the crypto payment gateway that directly resulted in Hong Kong rapid crypto adoption. The goal is for Hong Kong to become a part of China foreign trade and for more overseas Chinese to return to Hong Kong to invest and start business, both in and out of crypto space. To achieve their goals, HOPE team developed the Connect protocol, which acts as a chain-based custody and clearing settlement protocol. It's like having an online Alipay, where your money stays in custody until the seller confirms the delivery of the goods. HOPE plans to connect DeFi and CeFi in the future through the Connect protocol, bridging the gap between the two worlds.
Before we end the video, can you tell us what you expect from the HOPE's project?
I hope that the HOPE project can become a universal collateral for trade fields during this process. Through such planning, I also hope that it can gradually achieve long-term goals, provide a new choice for international trade settlement, and at the same time, provide high-quality collateral in the short term to meet the needs of various industries and promote the development of the entire cryptocurrency and financial ecosystem.
Thank you for sharing all of this. This gives us a deeper understanding of the HOPE project.
Currently, it's always good to stay informed and up to date with the latest trend and insight.
I think that's all for today. If you are watching this, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe, like, and follow button. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.